You are tuning in to the Atlanta Realtors Rundown, the official podcast for the Atlanta Realtors. We're here to keep you updated with the latest trends, topics, and keep you in the know of our ever-changing Atlanta market. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome back to the Atlanta Realtors Rundown. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single video or podcast that we do here in the studio. Really excited about today's episode, something a little bit different. As you probably don't know, this is a committee here at the Atlanta Realtors Association that relies on volunteers, obviously, but those volunteers have to go out and find content. They have to create conversations. And today I'm excited to introduce you to our two new hosts for 2024. Obviously, Kate and I were here in 2023, kind of help navigate the content and conversations around the Atlanta real estate market, but also bringing in experts from all around the country to hopefully bring you guys some value, whether you're a consumer, a home buyer or seller, or even just a realtor, whether you're new or you've been in this business for 30 years. We're just really excited to have you here and join us today. But really excited about our guests who are now hosts officially with the podcast. Woo! So welcome, Neil, Karen. No strangers to ARA here, obviously. But tell us a little bit about you guys, your involvement in real estate first and foremost, and then we'll dig into a little bit of the ARA stuff, but also what you guys are most excited about with the podcast. Karen, we'll start with you.
Well, hey, thanks. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for the intro. Yeah. Karen Hatcher, I was the 2022 president of Atlanta Realtors, and this moment is like super full circle for me. This was an idea that I had years ago, and we always talk to our volunteers here, like you can come up with an idea, and it can take years to get implemented, and sometimes you're not the one to implement it or make it what it is, right? And so you can talk about something, and so to be here today with you all and see what all the work that you all have done, and you, Kate, so Matt, Kate, and Vic, and gosh, who else? Manny. There's been so many that have worked on it. Cynthia, that has made that. I mean, you all have made it such a gem. It's been really cool seeing the numbers rise, the type of topics that you've had. The work has been incredible. The content has been so rich for our members. But I'm really excited to be here. For me, it's always been like, how can we be the Netflix of real estate, right? It's like, how do you reach 14,000 members? How do you engage 14,000 people? And you can't by just events and meetings and doing hybrid. Everybody learns differently. Everybody engages differently. And so there's a huge segment that listen to podcasts. So if we can get them the content about what's happening in Atlanta for Atlanta real estate through this way, over time it'll build, and that just allows us to reach that sector that we weren't reaching. So really cool to be here. Excited about the year. Got some really cool topics, and yeah, to be here with y'all.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. Neil, same questions.
I'm not sure how to follow that, but I will try. No, I mean, I'm very excited to be here. I'm finding it very challenging to be in front of all of you guys. You've done such a stellar job over the last couple of years. I've been listening to podcasts for 3-4 years and got a lot of useful information from it too. So I'm hoping to try and bring some of that to this too, with some of the different topics. But yeah, just very excited to be here.
Yeah, and Neil's not new to ARA either. You've been involved in a couple other committees. Would you like to highlight those real
Sure.
quick?
I mean, I've been in real estate for about 5 years, and I joined the Atlanta Realtors Association straight away. Mm-hmm. I've been part of lots of different committees. Carolyn Garrett was one of the first people to say, I'm on the communications committee. Why don't you join me? I was like, sure. Went from there to the trade show to last year I was chairing sustainability, affordable and equitable housing. I mean, the list goes on. I just like to try in governmental affairs. Just like to try and get as involved as I can.
Yeah.
I feel like when Neil came on the scene, it was like I saw him once and then I saw him 100 times.
Yeah, totally.
He was everywhere.
He was. But you've seen it like produce in all aspects of your life, right? Benefits, just your relationships and industry knowledge.
It's true. I mean, I've made so many good friends, and people talk about the realtor family, and it's great having it not just in the brokerage, but then it's so much bigger when you come to ARA and you see people on a regular basis and get to know people, and even at GAR too. Through the Leadership Academy and just meeting people there all the time, you get so much benefit out of it. Yeah. And I learn so much by talking to different people because everyone has different experiences, and so there's things that I can share with them and a lot of things that they share with me too. So it's been so beneficial and awesome.
Well, I just have to say before you ask the next question, like, this table is the epitome of what I love about ARA. We all live in different areas of the metro, We all service different clientele. We are all different ages. We are all different demographics. And this is what I love about ARA, because of what the value that we bring together. When we're all together, I probably wouldn't even know you because we live in the same neighborhood, right? We're on completely different sides of town. But ARA brings us together. It is incredible. And it gives me chills thinking about it and just like what we're able to produce for our members. But this is exactly what it is.
Well, and I love that you mentioned it's full circle because, like you said, a couple years ago, this was just an idea. And we're like, this sounds like a great idea, but how do we go about doing it, right? And I think, like you said earlier, Manny's leadership last year in 2023, really building out the structure and the framework of not just what it looked like for that year, but for this year and for every host and guest kind of moving forward. Because one of our challenges with a podcast is to create content that's engaging, but also brings in people that know what they're talking about at a very high level. And especially just as I looked over the last year, the content, it was like, wow, we had so many different voices, so many different demographics, so many different areas of Atlanta. I mean, we really covered a ton of ground in 2023. And that's why I'm so excited, because I feel like it's a springboard for this next year, because we have had people that are local, that are engaged in real estate, either daily like we are as realtors, or that are investors or involved in government affairs in real estate, but not in real estate every single day. So I love the width, certainly, but the depth, I think, is really important as well. So Kate, as far as your experience as a host, obviously kind of looking at this next year, what are you most excited about for 2024 as far as the podcast goes?
Well, of course, I'm going to miss Manny really bad, but I am excited to also see new faces at the table and start to hear a little bit of some new perspectives. And I'll be excited next year when we get even more, phase out and have new hosts again. I think it's interesting to hear just what people can draw out of the guests they have. Matt, you and I have talked about it. I think you and Manny talked about it on our final episode, that we could sit down, all three of us could sit down with the same person and have an entirely different episode of content, just in the way that we converse and, guide the conversation. And so I'm very excited to hear Neil and Karen have guests on here and who they are able to sit down with, who that will be. We have a little preview in podcast, so we have an idea kind of what's coming up. But in the same regard, we have no idea what the conversation is going to sound like until we get to listen to it. And personally, I love that. So every time that I see an episode rolling out that I'm not on, I'm very excited to hear what that guest was going to draw and share and create for us with the host.
Well, and like you said earlier, Karen, as far as the different areas of Atlanta, I think that's what's most unique about the podcast, is that as a host, your network is your network. So, and it's different than mine, and it's different than Neil's, and it's different than Kate's, in that you're going to bring in different voices from different parts of the city that are going to have really different perspectives. And honestly, way different than my experience or perspective in general, right? So talk to us a little bit about, your episodes coming up, if there's anything in particular that you're really excited about, or kind of the direction that even a couple of years ago, kind of had the vision of what this thing could be. You've obviously listened to a lot of the episodes. What do you think about like the content coming up, and what are you most excited about to share and bring from your perspective?
Yeah, so what I love about the podcast is that you can talk about current trends. At ARA, it is very difficult to change an event or have a live panel that people can come to about a current topic, because those are planned so far in advance, right? 6 months to a year in advance. So the podcast gives us an opportunity to shift. We can pivot and say, hey, y'all, we need to talk about this right now. Let's just, get something out to our members. So I'm excited about having that ability to reach our members and be agile with topics. But this year coming for me, you'll hear about some developments, and because of course, development activity affects real estate. It affects, our infrastructure investments, where they're going. That all affects residential real estate production, which is so important to our members. So we want to know who's investing, what's coming where, what the plans are. So you'll hear some of that coming from my area town. You'll also hear about production and what has worked, what hasn't worked, right? A lot of new realtors have entered the industry over the past several years, but now you've got to really, really hone your business skills. And in looking at the analytics of all the work that you all have done over the past couple of years, some of our most listened to episodes were all about business production. And obviously, we want to make sure our members are producing. So we want to share those tools, share those gifts, share those skills, and bring guests on the show that can really help them hone their business skills, really back to business, really, really get to budgeting, right? Understanding how much you need to spend on things. How do you layer in those costs and expenses so that you can actually get a return on them and grow revenues and grow those commission, that top line number, right? So you'll see some guests on me for that. We'll also do some. I'll do an episode or two around culture creation, culture celebration. So celebrating different cultures in Atlanta and how they have helped change the real estate landscape. So you'll hear about that because it's really cool how groups can come in and completely change a neighborhood over time. And it has helped and honestly spearheaded the growth of a lot of neighborhoods across the entire metro. And we're talking about in town and in the suburbs. So really excited about that and bringing those people on. But that's going to be a few for me. That's enough, right? The beauty of this podcast is that there's so many hosts. And it's so ARA to have multiple people and swapping hosts out over the years because we're all going to bring in these different ideas. But that's what you'll hear from me.
I love it. Well, and for those of you that don't know, there is a team behind the scenes that's helping us connect with some of these creators and people in the business for content for the podcast as well. And I love what you mentioned because not only do we have unique perspectives and unique networks coming in, but the development that you talked about. And I tell my clients all the time, look, I'm in a listing presentation in March. It is irrelevant in April. The market has moved that fast, right? But I love the direction. I love the ideas that you've come up with, and I think that's something that we really haven't dug too deep. We've talked to developers. We've talked about new construction and stuff. And to your point, the business building thing, I think, is one thing that a lot of people come here looking for because what worked in 2022 when we first started the podcast isn't working as well as it used to, or it's changed, or regulations and legislation has changed, and so things are always moving. But I love that you mentioned that. So Neil, what about you? What are you most excited about as far as guests, topics, anything coming down the pipe?
Yeah, I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and primarily it's to be able to learn more things, to get information. And so there's certain things that a lot of people do residential. Similar to, like you said, building things too. But a lot of people want to look into land and how to buy land, and there's not many people that actually do that on a regular basis, or buying commercial property. So I'd like to try and bring some people there to be able to help people understand about some of the intricacies and some of the things to look out for, right? Some of the pitfalls around that. Also around condos. I mean, we have a lot of condos in Atlanta. There's a few people out there that know a lot about condos, about the particular condos. And again, there's a different way of being able to go and show condos and about doing all of that. So I want to be able to try and bring some more people into some of those things. You talked about trends. I like interior design. I'm not very good at it. My wife is so much better than me. I will not tell you how much she's just spent redoing a powder room.
Get back
Did
to
she
work.
get that shirt
Sorry,
today?
yes.
Did she pick out that shirt?
I did. You like
See,
it?
you got good style, right?
Actually,
Neil is very stylish.
Very.
Yeah, do not sleep on Neil.
Yeah. My daughter would come out and say, "Dad, you're really not wearing that today, are you?" I was like, I'll go change. Now she's at college. I have to rely on my wife to do that.
I love it.
But interior design. So, coming trends. I get a lot of people who you work with saying, so what kind of things are coming in? It'd be good for us to be able to say, these are some of the trends. Just because it's a trend doesn't mean you have to do that, but some people want to know that. Mm-hmm. And so, bringing some of that into it, maybe vacant staging too, I think. So again, there's different things that, I've been thinking about more recently about certain topics that I think would be good to talk about.
And the beauty of all these topics is that so many of them are also things that could be consumer facing. So if an agent is dealing with a client that's having a lot of questions about these, or they just want to use this as a reference point, anything that we're putting out, I think is, part of what we talk about in the podcast committee is this also something that could benefit a consumer if they stumble across our podcast? Yes, absolutely. And it can be a tool in our realtor tool belt to maybe send an episode to somebody about interior design and staging and the benefits, and hearing from an agent who has used it extremely successfully in their business, how it works and why it would benefit them. And it's just not you pitching the staging at that moment. Now you have something with some form of legitimacy behind you, doubling up on the efforts. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of things that we do through this podcast that I think benefit the agents and our listeners, and especially, our realtor body here in Atlanta.
Yeah, and that's kind of where the podcast started, right? It was a service to our members. It was supposed to be positioned as this is a megaphone for our message, basically. And that's why we've had so many different guests on with so many different topics, just trying to bring value, obviously, but also there's a lot of amazing people in Atlanta already as it relates to real estate that we've talked to and will continue to talk to. But to Kate's point, I think, and I think it may have been one of the things that we didn't even think about when we first started this was we know we can deliver value to our 14,000 members, but how do we do that while delivering a message of value to people that want to buy, sell, and invest in real estate, whether it's commercial, residential, does not matter here in Atlanta. So
I just want to piggyback on what Neil just said. What I love about that idea too, you talk about interior design and staging, but the other aspect of interior design that is so timely is that we have consumers out there and our clients that have to understand you may not get the exact house that you want right now, but you can make it into what you want. So if we can showcase and talk about design and trends and what's current and where you can find great stuff that's so huge and such a big benefit to our members and to consumers to understand that, you know what, I need to make this my own. I'm not going to go find that custom house exactly like I want because inventory is still low, right? And so but you can get something and make it what you want it to be and really get that message out there. So I love that. There's so many aspects that go into that interior design piece that I'm really excited about where you can go with that. So
Yeah,
really cool.
you're getting my head spinning now.
Yeah.
I'm about to go down that rabbit hole and be like, listen, there's so much that an agent, especially a new agent, needs to be trained on in regard to just architectural standards and things
Oh my
like
gosh.
that a lot of people don't ever realize. They don't talk about it in orientation or class, but that would be a fantastic episode, is to really just equip agents with this is solid architecture, this is that. I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm sure all three of you have had this experience, have to educate a client on in a home.
Yep.
Hey, this is a really high quality water filtration system. And they're like, what? I would have just walked right by it. So little things that we add value to our clients by educating them on around style, design, architecture, building standards, things like that. So, okay, I'm stopping now.
Yeah, no, love it. So such good energy around that.
Well, and I think one other thing, because as the school here, adapts and changes and rebrands and stuff, this is an opportunity with the podcast every other week for you to get some content, some education, and you as the real estate agent, you are the product. So we're trying to make you better
100%.
so that you can better position for your clients and serve them at a higher level. But I think one of the other things that I'm hoping we'll dig into more, not just today, but also in future episodes, is the power of the school and of continuing education, because there are a lot of committees that are attending conferences all around the country and learning the latest and greatest. And, we're still making our way, as far as sustainability goes, as a matter of topic. But I know a lot of the members that are engaged here, some of those guys have designations, especially for the green designate as an example. So, I think what you should understand is that the people that are working behind the scenes on our board, but also the executive committee and on this podcast committee, are also looking at the trends and also looking at information as this is the real value for our members. So how do we deliver it in a way that's compelling and valuable, but also to give you the next step? And that's one thing that I try to close out every episode with is, what's the other podcast? What's the book? What's the other website or resource or YouTube channel that you can go get more information on? So, and kind of talking about that, what do you guys do as realtors to further educate yourself? Is it just attending conferences? Is it coming to the school here? Obviously, we all have to do CE, so we can assume that. But outside of that, what are you guys doing to constantly educate yourselves?
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I go to conferences. I have coffee with those that are wiser than me. But, podcasts has really been my thing. I listen to them while I get dressed. As soon as I get out of the shower, it's like hit play. And from then on, getting dressed, doing my makeup, all of it. I'm listening. I come back and drop my kids from school. I throw it on while I'm making my oatmeal, whatever it is. I'm just listening to that. I listen to educational content more than I listen to music nowadays. So, because it's just the frame of mind that I'm in, right? And so that and Audible has been in books, so sharing books. But if y'all aren't having coffees or conversations with people that have been in this industry longer than you or more successful than you, then I urge you to do that, especially if they're members of our association. Pick up the phone and call, because most of the people that are members of our association are very gracious, and we share because we want us all to continue to lifting up the brand and elevating the realtor brand. So that's how I get my education.
Perfect. Yep. I love it. What do you think, Neil?
So I do not listen to audiobooks while putting on my makeup. However,
Okay, so what do you do while putting on your makeup?
I have to focus on one thing at a time, Kate. Otherwise it just won't look right. But no, I do listen to a lot of audiobooks, and the first thing I do when I get in the car, after I talk to my mum every day, is actually listen to an audiobook.
I love that you call your mom every day.
I do. Well, she's so far away. So.
That's awesome.
But I call my mum first thing in the morning, and then after that's just listening to audiobooks in the car. lots of different podcasts and stuff like that too. So trying to get from that, I try to do as much training as I can. So, through the brokerage or through the school, ARA has so many good events that come up where you can actually sign up for things and get so much good information from that too as well. And then going to the JR conferences again, they put on a lot of good training too. So I try to learn as much as I can. Often, you go through a lot of stuff and you've heard a lot, but I'm always trying to pick out that one or two nuggets that I haven't heard of and try to write it down to try and put action on that at some point on an ever-growing list.
Yeah. I love it.
And as a broker, in the business, we talk a lot to agents, but there's a lot of brokers on the call that listen, right, that are also independent companies or associate brokers or run big teams. And so, for me, I find it imperative that I have to constantly, not even just real estate podcasts, but business podcasts and what's happening within the economics of business. What can I implement in my business? What can I change? I look to other industries, to what they're doing and how I can, take a little nugget from what they're doing and can that improve my efficiency of my operations? And so those pieces, just having that kind of oversight and vision of 3 years from now, if that industry is doing that, how is that going to affect me?
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome.
And one thing that you guys didn't say that I know you both do, and I know I do, and Matt, you do as well, is really just immerse yourself in the membership here and get to know people even in this building and network. I know you did mention that, Karen, a little bit by talking about going to coffee with people, but just being in a classroom, like Neil says, with people just from across this, really honestly across the state, that do different types of businesses and having conversations, even just hallway conversations, following people on social media and watching what they do and being able to kind of pick their brain when you see something. I mean, I've been able to learn a lot from people on social media. Not assuming that everything that is shown is real, but just pursuing that person. No, it's not, Neil. Pursuing someone that I see is doing something that interests me. So if I see a friend, Matt does a lot of video. If that's something that I'm interested in and I've seen he's been doing it, I'm not just going to take it for face value on Instagram. I'm going to say, Matt, can we set up a meeting or can I have a call? Or do you mind sharing a little bit about how you're putting this together? So, utilizing all the tools that we have, podcasts, Audible, people, classes, and really, for me, another thing, and I know everyone at this table has done this as well, is continue to seek information and people outside of our comfort zone. So every time, in Atlanta, you get comfortable here, you start to get involved, you get to know people, and then continue because you have value and you add value and you get value, but then go to the state. And then you get to know people, you get involved, you go through the Leadership Academy like Neil and I have done. Have you all done that?
I have, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And go through those programs and get to know more people and get a little bit more embedded there and then take it to the national level. There's just so much to be offered through people to me and relationships. And I think every one of us at this table would agree with that. It's not a secret. But another thing, like Karen said, is just kind of, merging paths with other people and other professions as well. And sitting down and talking to people, maybe an insurance agent who's really good at what they do. I know Matt's done that before. There might be something that they have in their business practices that you could apply to yours that real estate agents, realtors aren't talking about.
Yeah.
So just getting out there and really working that network and getting to know people and using, the power of people and relationships to build your business as well and to be able to bring that, for us as podcast hosts, to be able to bring what we're seeing and learning back and share it with everyone. I not jokingly, but I've kind of like passively said in our meetings before that my goal for me and podcast on any episode is to bring you the nuggets that I've sought out and found in the person that's across the table from me that took me 3 or 4 years to figure out.
Yeah.
And to give it to you in 30 minutes. Yeah. To bring that person and to showcase everything that I've learned about them and gotten to know through them and all the time I've invested in them to give that to the guests in 30 minutes. I mean, that's what I want when I listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that just really touches on the fact that this is why the podcast was started, right? So that the information was available to everyone, right? Consumers as well. But also, there are probably people that have never come to one of our events here at ARA, never taken a class with the school, never met any other, except maybe through a co-op or something. I think we're reaching a whole different group of people here that are paying every single year to be a member here, and now they're actually getting real value the way they want to get it, right? Because I think we got to meet people where they are. So, well, kind of in wrapping this up, this is like a rapid fire segment. I did not prepare them, audience, for any of these questions. So give them a little bit of grace on their answers and the silence here. And because these questions are very deep and very thoughtful. No, I'm just kidding.
Sophia warmed us up.
That's right. That's
Some
right.
warning would have been good.
So Karen, favorite restaurant in Atlanta?
Ooh, that is so hard. There's so many
Wow.
great ones. Oh gosh. But if we're gonna go steak, because I love steak, and that's like my
Perfect.
filet. I would say my best filet. Hal's. I love Hal's filet.
Okay, gotcha. All right, Neil, favorite place to visit in
I
Atlanta?
wanted that same question. I got the answer. Now
Well,
you asked me a different question.
we gotta circle around it a little bit here. Now you've got time to
I'm
think.
getting nervous
right?
over here.
So what was the question again?
Favorite place to visit in Atlanta?
First favorite place to visit? Mercedes-Benz
Okay.
Stadium. Yeah,
For
I like going
soccer,
you meant
for
the
football,
dealership.
for both.
Monster
For both.
Jam, all of it.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
a season ticket
I'm
holder
going
for
with
the
it.
Atlanta Falcons and
Gotcha.
Atlanta United. So
Awesome. Okay.
I love going there for as many games as
All
I
right,
can.
and favorite
Beautiful
restaurant?
stadium.
Favorite restaurant? Not favorite, but the last one I went to was actually Zakia.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a new Lebanese restaurant in Buckhead.
Nice.
Very, very good.
Atlanta's really underrated when it comes to our restaurants.
Totally.
So yeah.
Oh, really? I don't know. I mean, I've found so many good restaurants.
So many people come here and they're like,
Atlanta.
it's okay. And I'm like, you obviously
Where did
didn't
they
go to
go?
the right part.
Yeah, I know.
The wrong
Call-
places,
please call
clearly.
us,
Yes,
please.
Right.
Because food is
Oh my
like
gosh.
we have no shortage of good food.
I could give you a list for every city.
Yes.
My favorite pastime is to go and eat something.
That's right. That's same. Karen, how about you? Favorite place to visit around the city?
Favorite place to be? I say the Beltline. I love the Beltline. You get to experience so much. So many people. So many restaurants. Love it. We do day dates there. Take the kids there. Yeah, I love it.
Good people watching too.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Depending on the season.
And it's always changing.
It is. It is. Awesome. As far as one thing that the listeners probably don't know about you,
Y'all got quiet.
she's pointing at Neil.
Some, I have twins that are at college, a boy and a girl.
Oh my gosh, I have twins too. Oh, boy, girl twins. So I've known Neil, but I never knew this about
There
Neil.
you go.
So mine are 7, so they're not in college yet. But it's
Mine-
got a long
It's
way
gonna
to
go like this.
Mine are 20 next month.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
Neil.
wow, that's amazing.
And he looks
so he
so
knows
young.
the twin drama, which we love. It's our labor of
We're
love.
back to the makeup again, aren't we, Kate?
You did concentrate when you put it on.
That's
See,
right.
now you know why.
How about you, Karen? What's one thing the listeners, or maybe even we in the room, don't know about you?
I just jumped on the twin thing. Is that not going to fly?
What are you willing to share today?
They don't know about me, that they may not know about me because I haven't shared it. But I mean, I'm a developer, so I develop properties as well. And I have some development communities coming. Maybe that's one thing.
Yeah, I love it. I don't think a lot of people know that about you, actually.
No, I haven't posted a lot about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been happening for a couple of years, but we should be getting permits this year on all 3 developments. Thank God.
Okay.
But yeah.
Sweet. Okay. And Neil, what's one thing in 2024 that you are doing in your business that you haven't done before?
I'm not sure I haven't done. I'm doing a lot more videos. So I started doing videos towards the end of last year, and I'm trying to focus on that a lot more.
Gotcha.
And do a lot more social content out there too, educational content as well. So that's something that I'm focusing on in a big way in 2024.
Excellent.
Outside of the podcast, of course.
I love it. Karen, same question. Outside of, it sounds like getting some permits done and developing some stuff,
Yeah.
which maybe didn't happen last year. Anything that's happening in your business this year that you
You
haven't
know,
done
that's
before?
probably it. I've been doing infill development for 20 years. We started with flipping properties, with my back then boyfriend, now husband. And we've been building new construction for the past maybe decade and also flipping houses in between. But finally should be getting permits on some new developments and acquiring new land. So that's probably the biggest deal happening in my business this year, along with other things. But yeah, everything kind of is stemming from there.
Awesome. Okay, last question. Where is your happy place?
Oh, with my family, for sure.
So it doesn't matter where you are geographically, physically, as long as you're with them.
I love it. I know that time is so precious. And like Kate just said, it goes fast. It totally goes fast. And I see how fast they grow. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I know they're going to be taller than me, right? My 10-year-old is now officially taller than me as of last month. And it's just like, oh gosh, I only have 7 more years. So she's going to be out of my house, like that stuff. And my husband's always like, stop saying things like that. But it's true, 7 years and she's going to be gone, And so I want to really hone in, teach them everything I know, teach them all the life skills. You got to know how to cook, at least make, a few things, make yourself breakfast, lunch, dinner, no matter what you're doing, how to fold clothes and just life skills, how to, balance the checkbook, your bank account, budget, all that stuff. So that's my happy place. It's just so,
I love it.
reaches me.
How about you, Neil? Where's your happy
I'm going to have
place?
to repeat that. It sounds very corny, but it is for the family, right? So, the kids came back from college for Christmas. They were home for like nearly 4 weeks.
Wow.
It was like they hadn't gone, but it was great.
That's awesome.
It's hard to release them again. Yes and no.
Yes and no.
I wasn't thinking about that. Yes,
Matt, you haven't answered any of these questions, and you
Yeah,
dish
no.
them.
Yeah.
You dish them,
I've just
so
been putting this out for years.
I will like
No.
you to answer the question series
So
of
my
questions.
favorite place in Atlanta right now is actually the Beltline as well, because I think it's going to be really interesting. A couple of years ago when they talked about doing this, I think there were a lot of skeptics around how it was going to go down and what it was going to be and what it was going to look like. And to me, the connective tissue of that area is really important because it's, someone the other day said Atlanta's not walkable, and I was like, it's getting there though. Like it never was. We were always a commuter city. No one ever really lived where they worked. So I like the Beltline for that. And then favorite restaurant, I got to go by neighborhood as well.
Quick.
Rumi's. If I'm Sandy Springs or like
Yes.
Midtown.
We're on my next date night.
I mean, the portions are just way more than you ever need, but you always, I don't know, my eyes are bigger than my stomach sometimes. And then I don't even remember. Oh, Happy Place, at the beach with the family. I think that's like there's something about going to Hilton Head, crossing over that bridge. I think like everything just gets left behind on the other side for some reason. But yeah, the family time at the beach is always fun.
Thank you.
Of course,
Love it.
Of course.
Are we not going to ask Kate the same question?
Yeah.
You can't get away from that.
Y'all took a lot of it. I would agree. I would say that Rumi's is definitely one of my top 3, and that's what I was thinking of when you were saying that, asking that question. But I also love a steak, and Howell's is delicious. But I would also really enjoy a Rathbun steak.
Oh,
so,
100%.
There's a lot of places. We could go neighborhood specific, and I could give you one everywhere.
Exactly. Yep.
I love Mexican food. Take me to food. I will be happy. Okay, we can go anywhere. There's a really great Thai spot that people sleep on in Sandy Springs called Erewhon. Try that.
Okay.
Anyway, we won't sit on food because I could just talk about it all
I'm
day.
getting hungry.
need to go
What were the
after
other questions? Favorite places in Atlanta? I'm gonna go. I love the Beltline. Just the energy. It's so alive, and just seeing people. And I have never been on the Beltline and not felt joy. Right?
Yeah.
Like no matter what. Like I've never felt like this is uncomfortable, this is sad, or this makes me feel discouraged, or I'm disappointed in something. I've never felt that on the Beltline. But for me, I grew up really close to the Chattahoochee River. So I would say that I have this maybe nostalgic feeling when I go to the Chattahoochee River, and from my neighborhood, we can actually walk directly into the park.
Nice.
So I will say that is one of the places in Atlanta that I just have more happy feelings. And then my happy place, so original with my family, and I would say in Siesta Key, and that's a place I've been going since I was born. My family's been going there for years. It's just near and dear and very special and holds a lot of really important and sentimental memories to me.
Love it.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us and introducing yourselves to the audience here, but also you're going to be hearing obviously a lot more from these two new hosts as well. Really excited about the future, not just for this year, but as it continues to grow and develop, and as we get new voices in. That's what's so exciting to me is regardless of the content, the perspective, and the voice that you're going to hear kind of moving forward, not only will be continuing to change, but it's also going to give, I think, all of our members someone that looks like them, sounds like them, has the unique perspective that they might share. So I'm really excited about the rest of this year for the podcast and the future of it in general. So thank you guys again for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Absolutely.
It's going to be a great year.
you. Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you for tuning in to the Atlanta Realtors Rundown. Please subscribe, and for more information on how to get engaged, check us out at atlantarealtors.com. We look forward to having you join us for the next episode.